Now, as we look around to the back of the thigh, we need to work on the hamstrings and the gluteal muscles a bit. So we want to think about the glutes coming out and around. So this really is one large muscle mass that flows out and around the side of the body. So chances are we're never going to see this on the finished mesh, but we'll smooth it in there anyway. Alright, it's always good to understand the flow of the musculature. So now after the glutes here, and we move on to the hamstrings, we want to understand, at least as much as possible, how the muscle flow is going to have those hamstring muscles inserting under this gluteal muscle. So we want to make sure that we have at least the ability to make it look like those muscles overlap each other. So we start bringing this out. We use control to carve in. And then the way this muscle comes down basically helps surround the back of the knee. So to fill in a bit here, I'm going to use the wax. Fill in those gaps. Help me bulk that muscle up. So after kind of filling in some of those little creases that we got from the sculpt brush, we want to again go back and smooth things in a bit so that the bulk of the muscle doesn't feel like it's bumpy, weird mass. So again, the wax tool really just kind of helps me add bulk really, really quickly. But as always, I want to go back and smooth things out. So wax looks pretty good at just kind of filling things in and adding a bit of volume. So we still want to go back and always smooth that in. So the other half of the hamstring muscle here does pretty much the same thing. So we're going to go back, a bit bigger brush here. Really show how that flows around the side of the knee. And then smooth. So here, we're going to have a little bit more cut. A little more shaping there. And then smooth. Maybe a little wax right in here. Fill in those gaps. Alright, so as we're adding some more bulk into the hamstrings here, we do always, again, want to be checking our reference and making sure that the flow of the muscles is going where we want it to. So as I carve in a bit right here, I'm trying to define how the gluteus muscle overlaps that hamstring muscle.
And as I look around the mesh, it actually seems as though things are flowing pretty well. We always want to make sure that we're checking our reference and checking our sources to try to make sure that the level of realism that we want in our model is actually what we're getting. So the hamstrings and the way they kind of work from the back of the leg and wrap around the side of the knee are basically the biceps of the leg. So we got to make sure that the bulk of those muscles is actually appropriate for the character mesh. So again, we want to kind of sculpt and then smooth and always be checking to make sure that things are working correctly.
It feels like a much better volume for that bulk of muscle. So between these two, we're going to have to fill in a bit. We might want to use a grab. A little bit bigger brush and actually just pull these toward the center a little bit.
All right, so again, I'm looking to just adjust how that muscle sits on the back of the leg. So I'm using grab to just pull that out just a little bit. It's a little bit faster when I want to make some kind of big changes rather than sculpting everything. So it actually allows me to move the mesh rather than just sculpt the mesh. So then as we smooth that back in, the kind of volume and bulk of that muscle feels a bit better.
Alright, now we have to define just a little bit of muscle going into this knee. There's just a couple little muscle masses right above the knee there. So if you just kind of fake a little bit of detail. That looks pretty good. Alright.